Daf Yomi Tractate Zevachim, page 49. And I'd like to make a little correction that on the Peel 89 presentation for Sunday, November 2nd, which is box 17, it actually is 49. I said that Sunday, November 2nd, which is the 11th day of Cheshvan, I said it was 48. 48 was actually for Shabbat, the 10th of Cheshvan. And what I meant to say is that the fact that it was 48 can apply to today as well in the rule of the Peel 89. But today's daf is 49. So if you look at the Peel 89 for today, which is November 2nd, it says 48, just know that it's actually 49. But in truth, the dot 49 is the 48th page. So I was going to rely on that, but I figured sometimes if you say it's page 48, it is page 48 because it starts from page 2. All the Talmud always starts from page 2. But I figured I might as well just say it anyway. Okay, so 49 on the top, Harein Maser. דהו נפטר ואילו לקוח כסף מעשר אינו נפטר אתנן הלקוח בכסף מעשר שנתבע ייפדה ויהוד אומר יקבר נתבע אין לא נתבע לו. But there is the case of the second tithe which may be redeemed, whereas food that is purchased with the second tithe, redemption money, may not be redeemed. As we learned in the Mishnah in Maser Sheni 10:10, with regard to food that was purchased with second tithe money and that then became ritually impure, this ritually impure food must be redeemed with money, with which one must purchase other food. Rabbi Yehuda says the food must be buried. The food infers from the Mishnah. The Gemara infers from the Mishnah. If the food purchased with the second tithe money became impure, yes, it may be redeemed. But if it did not become impure, it may not be redeemed. If so, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the halacha that food purchased with second tithe money must be buried if it becomes impure is more stringent than the halacha for second tithe produce itself, which may be redeemed if it becomes impure. Hasam lo alima kedushase lemispas pidyonet. The Gemara answers the reason one may not redeem food that was purchased with second tithe money. There's a fly here. I'll try to get rid of it, hopefully. Second. Okay. The Gemara answers, the reason one may not redeem food that was purchased with second-hand money and that became ritually impure is not that the halacha is more stringent. Rather, there is a different reason. Since this food was merely purchased with second tithe money, its sanctity is not as strong as the tithe itself and is unable to grasp redemption money. Its status as second tithe is weak and cannot be transferred to a third item. Consequently, if it becomes impure according to Rabbi Yehuda, it cannot be redeemed for money, but must be buried as an item that one is privileged to derive benefit from. Yehari timura di'ilu kodashim lo chayli al balmum kavua di'ilu ihi chayala. Marzutra asks, but there is the case of a substitution as the status of an offering does not take effect with regard to a permanently blemished animal, while consecration performed via substitution does take effect with regard to an animal with a permanent blemish, although the animal cannot be sacrificed as an offering and must be redeemed. even after its redemption. It may not be used for labor, and its wool may not be used. Timura, Mikoach Kadoshim Kasio, Mikodoshim Mikoach Hulin Kasi. Kati. The Gemara answers, the sanctity of a substitution comes by virtue of a consecrated animal. Therefore, it has a stronger sanctity. But the sanctity of a consecrated animal itself comes by virtue of a non-sacred animal, as there was no consecrated animal by which the owner extended the sanctity to this animal. Hare Pesach, duenu tasmicha, unisachim, utenufas chazeh v'shoik, ilumot lidei ta'un smicha nisachim, utenufat chazeh v'shoik. Marzutra asks, but there is the case of the paschal offering, as it does not require the placing of hands on its head or wine libations to accompany the offering, or waving the breast and thigh, while its remainder, an animal that was designated as a paschal offering, but was not sacrificed at the right time, which is then sacrificed as a peace offering, has more stringent halachot, because it requires the placing of hands on its head, and wine libations to accompany the offering, and waving of the breast and thigh. Pesach, the Gemara answers, the paschal offering on the rest of the days of the year is the same as a peace offering, and the animal is no longer considered to be a paschal offering, since it is a peace offering. All the halachot of the peace offering apply to it, and the fact that it was once designated as a paschal offering is irrelevant. The conclusion of the Gemara is that there are no cases where a secondary status is more stringent than the corresponding primary status. Therefore, the derivation from the halacha of the sin offering to the halacha of the burnt offering, that the latter should be disqualified if it was not slaughtered in the north, or if its blood was not collected in the north, remains. And if you wish to say, there is a different proof that even after the fact, a burnt offering that was not slaughtered in the north is disqualified. The verse states, and slaughter the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering, Leviticus 4:29, since the earlier verse, Leviticus 4:24, already stated in the place of the burnt offering. The repetition in this verse stresses that it shall be in its place, meaning that the offering is disqualified if it is slaughtered anywhere else. Asha minal libai tzafon tichsi b'makom asher yishchatu et ha'olah yishchatu et ha'asham. The Gemara asks, from where do we derive that a guilt offering, which is an offering of the most sacred order, requires slaughter in the north? The Gemara answers, as it is written, in the place where they slaughter the burnt offering, they shall slaughter the guilt offering, and this blood shall be sprinkled around the altar. Leviticus 7:2. Since the burnt offering must be slaughtered in the north, the guilt offering must also be slaughtered in the north. Ashkechan shchita kabbalah minalam. Yes, Tami Yisro, kibul dama, nami betzato. The Gemara asks, we have found a source that the slaughter must be in the north. From where do you derive that the collection of the blood must also be in the north? The Gemara answers that the second half of the verse states, and his blood shall be sprinkled around the altar. Since the blood must be collected immediately after the slaughter and before the sprinkling, just as the slaughter must be in the north, so the collection of its blood must also be in the north. Damo v'es damo. The Gemara asks, from where do we derive that the one who collects the blood must himself stand in the north? The Gemara answers, it is derived from the fact that the verse does not only state its blood shall be sprinkled, it states and its blood shall be sprinkled. Leviticus 7:2. the conjunction of ve'et and its blood serves to include the one who collects the blood. Asya the mitzvah, ashkachan the mitzvah, the akev v'na'al kalachim t'ksiv v'shachas l'keves. The Gemara asks, we have found a verse teaching that in order to perform the mitzvah in the optimal manner, the slaughtering of the guilt offering is in the north. From where do we derive to disqualify after the fact an offering slaughtered elsewhere, not in the north? More answers. Another verse is written referring to the guilt offering, which states, and he shall slaughter the sheep in the place where they slaughter the sin offering and the burnt offering, in the place of the sanctuary. For as the sin offering, so is the guilt offering. To the priest, it is most holy. Leviticus 14:13. This teaches that all the guilt offerings are disqualified if they are not slaughtered in the north. Okay. Hi. The Hacha Hudeasya. Hi, be boy, you can tell you do she Shahayim Bichlal. Biatzali Bedar Chadash. Yetzar Shaylach Zero Lechalo. Ad Shechazirenu Akatu Lechalo Ferush. This is in one of the 13 principles. I remember I asked about this one, so it comes up here. Davar Shahaya Bichlal. Yetzar Lidon Bedavar Chadash. The Gemara asks, but does this verse come to teach? Does this verse come to teach this halacha? The verse is necessary for that which is taught in Braita with regard to a matter that was included in a general category but left to discuss a new matter. Meaning, if a novel aspect or special ruling is taught with regard to a specific case within a broader general category, you may not return it to its general category, even for other matters. And this case is understood to have been entirely removed from the general category until the verse explicitly returns it to its general category. So they say that for some reason that rule applies here. He shall slaughter the sheep. Case side. The Gemara explains how so. V'shachas l'keves b'kol mashiach chatas. V'yasol b'kol b'kodesh. Ki chatas hashamu the Gemara she'ein tamud lomer kechatas ha'asham ma tamud lomer kechatas ha'asham. The Gemara explains how so. This verse states, "He shall slaughter the sheep in the place where they slaughtered the sin offering and the burnt offering, in the place of the sanctuary. For as the sin offering, so is the guilt offering. To the priest, it is most holy." Leviticus 14:13. And there is no need for the verse to state, as the sin offering, so the guilt offering. Since the verse had already equated the guilt offering with the sin offering, why does the verse state, as the sin offering, so the guilt offering? What does it serve to teach? Since the guilt offering of a leper left the general category of guilt offerings to teach a new matter, as there is a halacha unique to the guilt offering of a leper, in that the blood of the offering is placed on the right thumb of the hand, right? B'bohan yad ubohan regel ve'ozen yimanid yachol lo yehei ta'un matan damim imurim v'gam mizbeach. Okay, since the guilt offering of the leper left the general category of guilt offerings to teach a new matter, and there is a halacha unique to the guilt offering of a leper, in that blood of the offering is placed on the right thumb of the hand of and the right big toe of the foot and the right ear of the leper. One might have thought that his guilt offering does not require placement of blood or the burning of sacrificial portions on the altar, as the halachot of this guilt offering are unique. Talmud Nomal, kechatas hashamu. Machatas Tura Matan Dami, Bemurin Ravis Beachavasham, the Tzoyer Matan Dami Bemurin Ravis Beach. To counter this reasoning, the verse states, as a sin offering, so is guilt offering. Just as the sin offering requires placement of the blood. And the burning of the sacrificial portion on the altar. Similarly, just as the verse had to teach these two halachot, so too the verse had to state, and he shall slaughter the sheep in a place where they slaughter the sin offering and the burnt offering. To teach that it requires slaughter in the north, it cannot serve as a source for the general halacha that a guilt offering slaughtered in a place other than the north is disqualified. Okay, imkei nechtav mahai. The Gemara explains, if so, the optimal manner to perform the mitzvah is to slaughter a guilt offering in the north, but failure to do so does not disqualify the offering. Let the Torah write the requirement to slaughter it in the north in this context, meaning in the context of the guilt offering of a leper, and not write it in that context, meaning in the standard guilt offering. The requirement for slaughter in the north for all other guilt offerings could be derived from the guilt offering of the leper. The repetition of the requirement to slaughter in the north serves to disqualify a guilt offering whose slaughter is not in the north. The Gemara comments, this works out well if we hold that with regard to a matter that left its category to teach a new matter, the following principle applies. That matter itself does not learn halachot from its general category until the Torah explicitly returns it to that category.